if I'm in your campaign or if I'm high up in the Democratic Party, at this point, I have a few questions in terms of the health of your campaign moving forward into the general, which is a whole different ballgame. So here's my first. You were asked this question by Chris Hayes about the issue of, is there more out there? What else could be out there that might be revealed during the campaign? And you deflected, said, among other things, this is between you and your wife. It was understandable to a limit because for Maine voters in a general election, the question is, what is out there? What is not in your possession that you sent to others who may have in their possession? How many concerning pictures and or text messages are in the possession of other people that could be used against you? And I'd like to know if there are pictures, concerning pictures.
I will just say that the nature of Amy and I's relationship has been blown, I would say, totally out of proportion. Early in our marriage, we had some struggles, and we worked through them because that's what you do when you're in love with somebody. And it made our marriage much stronger, made us, frankly, a much happier and communicative couple. I was single for the majority of my adult life. I was in my 20s and 30s and I dated. And, you know, that's in the modern age, that's what happens. You date people and you use dating apps and you do all this stuff. And frankly, that all happened long before I got married and happened long before I decided to run for the United States Senate. I can just tell you, there is nothing out there that is going to will run counter to any of the stories that I've talked about openly this entire campaign. And I know everyone continues to be like, oh, what else is coming? You know, ironically,
right,
the whole what else is coming has essentially been the same thing the whole time, which is I've been very open about the fact that I struggled, very open about the fact I had a long litany of failed relationships for years because I myself was not in a good place. And then every now and again, we will have a media outlet or a politically motivated attack come up and try to drag it all up. But it's all very much within the exact same story that I've told this entire time.
Okay, so you say there's nothing out there that could be concerning. And this may seem a little bit rich.
There's nothing out there. I just want to make this clear. There's nothing out there that's actually concerning. People will make everything seem very concerning because that's what people do in politics. But, you know, I think the thing about all of this is what I find to be kind of most curious is this is what everyone wants to make the campaign about. So we do not talk about the struggles of working Mainers. We do not talk about the fact that I know someone in my hometown here who works 3 jobs and pays over 60% of her monthly income in rent. I think that matters a lot more than the details of my relationship before I ran for United States Senate. That's just me.
Okay, so then let me ask you this way. Can you just talk about the nature of the sexting in terms of, can you call for the release of the Epstein files? And can you call out those who have abused women and not be conflicted in any way?
Yes, of course. I mean, I engaged in consensual romantic activities with adults at an earlier part in my life. That seems like a fairly normal thing most people do. Going to an island with billionaires to possibly assault children is a vastly, vastly different thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you wish that this had come out earlier and in your own way?
No, I mean, this was a very private thing for my wife and I. And the only reason it's out is because we confided in someone we trusted on the campaign who then went and broke that trust. So it's, I mean, Amy and I have a very strong marriage, and it's mostly strong because of some of the challenges we faced early on and the work we did to get through it. So no, I mean, I'm not happy it's out, but it's also it's not again, I would say it's been entirely blown out of proportion as to what the reality of the situation is.
Mr. Plattner, good morning. Let me ask you about the race ahead now that you won by a wide margin last night. Susan Collins hasn't really had a close race in a long time. 6 years ago, it was under double digits. She won by 8 points. But there always seems to be this idea, because Maine in presidential elections goes blue by and large, that this is the time that Susan Collins is going to be defeated, and yet it never seems to be. So why do you believe this time Mainers will walk away from Susan Collins, as I assume you believe they will?
Well, I believe they will because I am a normal Mainer, and I have lots of normal Mainer friends, and everybody, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, a lot of people in this state are sick and tired of someone who, for decades now, has not really stood up for the people of Maine. Someone who will not hold the Trump administration to account. Someone who has gotten quite wealthy while in office, trading stocks and bonds, which is a very unpopular thing for those of us down here that don't have stocks and bonds. Someone who promised to protect Roe v. Wade and then went and voted for Brett Kavanaugh and brought about the destruction of a woman's right to choose in this country. Those are real things that people see there, and they bring about material realities for us down here on the ground. And I am fully convinced that people in this state are sick and tired of this kind of politics as usual, like corporatist establishment politician, which Susan Collins really is the avatar of. Now, I will say this. The Republican Party, the people that donate to Susan Collins, the people that support her, they know the stakes of this thing. And so they are dumping millions of dollars into the state of Maine in attack ads against us already. We'll say, for anybody who's watching at home, if you want to see Susan Collins beaten, please go to grantforsenate.com and donate. We can definitely use the help. But the stakes of this are so high because we really are looking at, is this country going to be able to go in a direction of a politics that is accessible, a politics that is representative of regular people, and then a politics that therefore represents regular working people? Or do we maintain the status quo? Do we maintain a politics that allows for billionaires and corporations to continue to get richer and richer and richer year after year, while those of us that work for a living work harder and longer and for less? And I think the answer to that up here in the state of Maine is people want change.
As you've been hearing for months from your Democratic opponents, and now will grow louder with the Collins campaign and Republicans even nationally, the argument against you is that all of the comments that you've talked about and addressed and said you were at a bad time in your life, the past comments about black people, calling yourself a communist, talking about police, talking about armed resistance for the working class, they say that's who you really are, and that you've kind of cleaned yourself up to run this campaign to get into the United States Senate. So how do you, for people just kind of tuning into this race, perhaps even in Maine, but certainly nationally, how do you address that criticism? Because it's kind of at the heart of the argument against you, which is you actually are that guy from 10 or 12 years ago, and that you polished yourself for the election. What do you say to that?
I would say that they really do not grasp what is happening up here in Maine, because they continue to try to make this race about me. And what they fail to understand is it's not about me at all. It's about us. It's about Maine. It's about the working people of this state.